Okay. Hey, Capricorn. Welcome to August 2020. I am pulling from this deck that I just got, Archetypes. And for you, I pulled the Eternal Child. So this one is fun, but a little bit gets into addictions. I very much relate to this card, and I'm a Capricorn moon, so um it's about the 27 Club is kind of a theme with this. It's like Peter Pan, it's Icarus, it's kind of like Hamilton. It's kind of like the having big dreams card to me. It's not, it's like wanting to live life in joy, wanting to live life connected to something larger than yourself, wanting life to be a party, wanting life to be free and abundant and joyful and exciting and memorable and fun, playful. And so there's a lot of good in this archetype, right? Eternal Child, I mean, children are also very emotional. So I think that this can be an emotional card. And they also talked about how this is celebrity culture, that we all want to drink from the fountain of youth. We don't want to age. For me, when I was reading about this card, I was put in mind of Walter Mercado. I just saw his documentary Mucho Mucho Amor, and he's, and I think about Joan Rivers too. They were both people who loved their craft and what they did so much. They loved kind of being in the spotlight, being at the party, that they literally lived that lifestyle until their last dying breath. Their joy and passion for kind of the limelight was really the great love of their life in a way. And I think that's sort of a cool vibe for you, Capricorn. And also this makes me think of other famous Capricorns, such as David Bowie and Jim Carrey. And the thing I love about Jim Carrey and David Bowie being Capricorns is people always think Capricorns are so boring. I feel is maybe a stereotype, that Capricorns are serious and that they're all about work and they're all about being put together. But I think Capricorns are really kind of insane in a lot of ways. And I feel like Capricorns were more about getting to the top of the mountain, which is more about trying, that seeking for that deep sense of purpose. And I feel it's actually maybe more related to this child, kind of wanting that fulfillment of what is that peak moment of joy and spark and inspiration. And I'm listening to a podcast about addiction, so I'm going to start pulling cards and see what else comes up. But I do feel since Capricorn is the devil, it just makes sense to acknowledge that side of the Eternal Child archetype card. Which is to say, maybe in August we're kind of getting into, or yeah. So I'm not reading reversals on this deck in particular, just because the deck is got its own thing going on. The deck has words on it, so it's it just doesn't feel like this deck is about reversals. Whew, a lot came up for you. Okay, so achievement, memories, the sun, clarity, five of raindrops, loss, apprentice of raindrops, charm, master of gems, wealth, the emperor, take up space, and self-victimization and action. Okay, so yeah, I feel in a way this month feels like you exploring boundaries in terms of like, because like the Icarus thing came up with this too, right? And I mentioned Hamilton because Hamilton was kind of an Icarus, as they literally say in the play. And I think it's like to say, so it's all to say, like, go for your joy, right? Like, go for what you really want. Go for your happiness. Go for, like, taking up space as your true self. But, like, don't fly too close to the sun, right? Or temper some of it. Find balance within it, within this eternal child. Because, like, a child still needs a parent. A child still needs boundaries. A child still needs structure. I mean, I think kids do thrive in structure a little bit. So, I guess it's just saying, like, as much as maybe this month is about you kind of, I mean, especially with, like, memories, I feel like a lot of this month for you is probably about inner child work. Connecting with your inner child and really letting your inner child have space to take up space. I think you're wanting your inner child to, like, especially if we got some mountains and you're a Capricorn. So it's like, what does little baby Capricorn you want? And, like, what does little baby Capricorn you, like, dream of as, like, a fun life that's worth living? And I think being in touch with your child self provides this clarity about, like, who you really are and what you want, and you're looking back memories on who you were, who you've been, what, like, your origins were, like, what your core self is. But I think that with this self-victimization and this loss, it's like the 27 Club, right? Like, that was kind of something that was mentioned with this card too. So it's like, well, we don't want you to die, Capricorn. We don't want you to, like, overdose on all this. So, how can, it's just kind of like, how can you maybe grieve for your inner child a little bit, where your inner child wasn't, like, loved or nurtured the way she or he or they needed to be, right? And self-victimization, it's like, I don't know, just, like, kind of where, I think it's just about setting boundaries with yourself. Like, where does, like, partying all night not serve you and actually kind of, like, prevent you from this achievement that, or this wealth, you know? Does that make sense? Okay. Because Capricorn, you have a lot of good stuff here. So I feel like you just need to, like, set some boundaries for yourself in this process, or kind of, like, soothe yourself a little bit too, maybe. Like, because for children, they're very emotional. So if you're doing inner child work, you might find yourself, for example, like, throwing a tantrum. And you're like, wow, I'm a grown adult, but I'm throwing a tantrum? Like, that's weird. And so I think it's just saying, like, well, you know, as much as, like, you're the child and you're giving yourself space to feel those feelings, like, find ways to, like, feel those feelings in safe spaces where you're kind of being responsible and still, like, kind of accountable for your own impact, or you're not going, like, overboard with some kind of, like, habit that's, like, you know, an addiction or something causing some pain, or masking some pain and some loss with an addiction. Just putting that out there. I hope this is making sense. I'm kind of channeling it, so sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. Wealth and achievement. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much potential here, because it's like, I'm not saying don't live in joy. I hope it's been made clear. I'm saying, like, find ways to feel these feelings so that you can expand the safety you can have for yourself to feel joy. so you can feel joy and like fun and play in like a safe setting where you can like take up space. It's like if you took a kid to a playground, right? You want to make sure there aren't like needles in the sand, heroin needles, for example. So I think that this is a month of like reparenting, and along with that reparenting, it's like maybe your inner child feels some safety to be more creative and again take up that space, and that's helping you as an adult version of yourself get closer to the top of this mountain that you're always trying to climb anyway, which is this achievement and this wealth, master of gems, right? This is like you becoming a master of yourself, because in this deck you're the gems. This is earth energy, so this is you. So yeah, I feel like that is what I'm getting here. And then look, I mean, charm, this really fits into me with the inner child work too, of like when you're playing and having fun, you're just naturally charming. And we got this action, Eight of Wands, Eight of Lightning energy. Normally Eight of Wands is about forward movement, but here it's called action. And so I feel like, you know, you're doing this kind of like self restructuring in a way, learning how to take up more space in a safe way so that you can kind of be more truly authentic and maybe move, getting some clarity on your own habits and tendencies so that you can kind of like find ways to take care of yourself where this energy of like grief and pain and old habits or like anger or whatever, you can kind of honor it and feel it and be nurturing to yourself in a way that's not self-destructive. Again, boundaries with yourself, structure with yourself, being a good parent to yourself, to this eternal child that you are internally, which when done, when you're a good parent to yourself, then your kid can really thrive, right? And charming and able to put things into action so that you can go for this achievement and wealth. And I feel like wealth is not just material, although perhaps, but like wealth in terms of like really feeling like you have enough, having enough and knowing that you're enough as you are. Okay, that's basically it. So, kind of a weird reading, but hopefully it resonates. If not, whatever. And I love you, and I'll see you again in September. Bye.